Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Jakari Jackson coming to you here with a news blitz. We have a few articles about police. We're going to get started with this one right here in the state of Texas. And this is Governor Greg Abbott. Targeted killings of police should be a hate crime. Abbott announced Monday his plan to lobby for adding his Police Protection Act to Texas law. Along with extending hate crime protections to law enforcement, the measure would increase criminal penalties for any crimes in which the victim is a law enforcement officer. Now, I can understand why Abbott wants this, and I can also see potential problems with it. First, let's talk about why he wants this. Just in my short time here in the state of Texas, and even during Abbott's administration, there have been some many high-profile attacks on police officers. Of course, we know the ones that happened in Dallas, not just the most recent one, but also there's one a year or so before where the Dallas police station itself was attacked. A guy came in his, what the media referred to as his zombie apocalypse van, opened fire on the police station, also a car that's parked down the street. Myself and Joe Biggs, we covered that. We actually got to walk through the crime scene while the FBI was there still picking up shell casings, taking pictures and all the stuff. So with that in mind, I can understand that. Also right here in Austin, Texas, where Abbott is, where the Texas State House is, the Austin Police Department was attacked as well. Now, I believe that was over a holiday weekend, a Christmas weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, something to that effect, where another assailant went to the Austin Police Department and shot up the police department. He was dealt with later, but regardless, the shooting happened. And it took the police a good while to fix those windows that were busted out, because I just remember driving down 35. That's where the police station is, just right off 35. And for months and months, the windows were shot out at the police station as a steady reminder that it had been attacked. So I can understand why Abbott wants this, and I'm sure he has many police officers who will back him up on that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but my concern is that it may overextend. Once again, this is legislation that hasn't been written, so I'm just afraid that it may be a little too all-consuming. Case in point, there's a situation a couple years ago where officers, they were doing a raid on a man's house, and the guy thought somebody was breaking into his house. He pulled out his gun and he shot one of the officers who was entering. You know, it's pitch black in the middle of the night. He didn't know who it was. So that's my only concern, is that it may be too broad, and maybe that guy would have been charged with a hate crime if this had been retroactive at the time. So if they can get issues like that ironed out, I'd be a lot more open to seeing that legislation, but we'll see what happens in the months to come. Now, let's talk about a different place now. A sheriff is urging civilian staff to carry weapons to work. And this is something that's going on in Ohio. And he says, hey, if you have a license to carry, go ahead and bring your pistol to work. In a memo sent to employees last week, Butler County Sheriff Richard Jones urged civilian employees and volunteers to carry their weapons at the sheriff's office while operating any department vehicle, because when you consider the high-profile slayings of police officers, whether it's recently in Baton Rouge or a couple years ago in New York, where you had people who were sitting in their cars and they were approached from behind and had somebody shoot at them, it's a very scary situation, especially when you have your civilian staff. Well, really all officers are civilian staff, but the guys who don't normally carry a pistol on their hip, you want them to be armed as well, because they could be driving a department vehicle out, whatever they're doing, pumping their gas, and get shot in the back of the head. So he at least wants his officers or his civilian staff to have a means to protect themselves. Now, briefly, we're going to touch on some international news and talk about an axe attack that happened in Germany, and several people were injured on a train by a suspect. So basically, this was an assailant. He was armed with a knife and an axe, and he was identified as a 17-year-old Afghan man living in Bavaria. And in the initial incident, the train's emergency brakes were deployed and the attacker fled into a nearby town. The teen was aggressive and tried to attack cops with the axe before they opened fire and killed him. And the point I want to think about with this is, you have a guy who's armed with the axe, he's armed with a knife, people call the cops show up with, a gun, and they shoot the guy. And this is the reason why you have a mean for arms. So if somebody does attack you with a knife or axe or a baseball bat or something else, and they're completely in the wrong, you can pull out a pistol and shoot them. So that's my thing with that. Of course, it's Germany, so it's not so much a Second Amendment issue, but just a armed person issue in general. And also talking about the attacker, they say though a pro-ISIS group had claimed responsibility, they say that he's not officially linked to any terror group. So it's like many things. People may claim responsibility for it, or they may be happy that it happened, but it doesn't mean that the person is necessarily in cahoots with that organization. So that's it for right now. More reports on Infowars.com.
My fellow InfoWarriors, I am very excited to be able to announce to you the introduction at InfoWarsLife.com of a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWars Life formulations like Survival Shield X2 and Super Male Vitality. Just go to InfoWarsLife.com today, select your favorite product, click on Auto Ship before adding to cart, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. Every time you choose Auto Ship at InfoWarsLife.com, you get 10% off, and you won't have to worry about running out and having to reorder next time. And of course, you can cancel with one click anytime. As you know, I'm all about the idea of a 360 win, and the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com is a sure win for everybody. A win for liberty, a win for health, and a win when it comes to big savings. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and save 10% on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.